Hello guys, so welcome and welcome back to Python Basics series. We're in part 4, we are still in part 4 of the Python Basics, that is the control flow. So in this video we are going to talk about loops and we will go directly to for loop after talking about loops, a brief about loops. So in Python or in any programming language, loops are the control structures that allow you to execute a block of code repeatedly until a certain condition is met. In simple terms, we have previously covered about the if statement. If has a condition, if a condition is true, it's going to execute the block of code that falls in the if statement. But that block of code is going to be executed only once. To execute a certain block of code repeatedly on or a certain number of times, that's where loops comes into play. So in Python we have the basically two types of loops. We have the for loop and the while loop. So we are going to in this video we are going to cover about the for loop. Then in the next video we'll cover about the while loop. So what happens for a for loop? For loop basically is a loop that iterates over a sequence. A sequence is like a string, a list, or a tuple, an age. I'm going to introduce you on a age function. There is a dictionary. Yeah, those are the sequence, and it executes the block of code for each item in the sequence. This is what I mean. For example, by giving a syntax for a for loop, it's a for item in sequence. Remember the membership operators in. Now this is where we are going to use. So for item in sequence. So we said the for loop it iterates over the sequence. Sequence is an iterable object. It's an object that you can actually iterate over the element. So a sequence, for example, here might be a list or a string. So the item is the elements inside the are the elements in a sequence. For example, when you say the list elements 1, 2, and 3, this is a sequence. So here we can just replace the sequence with this list. So for item, whenever we are looping, it's going to be representing a particular element at a certain iteration. So you are going to understand this simply what we mean. So then for item in sequence, then it's going to execute the code block here inside the loop. So let's take an example of fruits. Take example of fruits. That's a list of fruits. So we have apple, we have mango, and we have banana. That's a list of fruits. So we can use a for loop so that we can print the fruits in a list. Each fruit in a list, that is for fruit in fruits. So it's going to print fruit. And basically let's print that so that you can see what it does. Like that. So what it basically does is it iterates over the fruits list. So this is how it does. It's like it takes the first element and then it prints it. So on the first iteration, this is a variable. Fruit is a variable, so it's going to contain the item as a in that particular iteration. At the first iteration, fruit will be an apple. The variable fruit will contain a variable value apple. On second iteration, the fruit value will be mango. On the third iteration, the fruit variable value will be banana. So that's so. So that's how we do it in for loop. In for loop, we have a function called range, which is used to give us a sequence of help us to iterate a sequence of numbers. Range is a function that will help us iterate the sequence of numbers. For example, let's say we want to print a number from 1 to 10. So we can say for I in range 10, y in range 10. So we are going to print the numbers from 1 to 10 I. So basically range what it means, it's like less than. For example, here we say range 10. That means, for example, I is less than 10. That's what range means. So we are going to print from 0 because the count in programming or in Python starts from 0. So it's going to print from 0 to 9. That would be 10 numbers from 0 to 9. So a range function, that what it does, it's like saying I is less than or equal to 10. So here, how the program is going to work is I will take the first number as 0. So it's like when you are using range, I'm saying it's like you are saying I is less than 10. So the first number here will be 0. Range means from 0 to 10. But basically what it means is I is less than or equal to 10. 10 is not included. It's from 0 to 10, but 10 is not included. So it will start from 0, then it checks I is less than or equal to 10, then if it's true, then it prints that. Now when it reaches to 10, I will not be less than 10. It will be equal to 10. So it's not going to be printed. So that's how it does. You see, and maybe if you don't want it to print it like 0 to 9, you can maybe come here plus 1. So yeah, 1 to 10. That's how you can use the range function with the for loop. So that's how simple the loops can be, and with time you'll get to understand them. They can help you do some complicated work, a very complicated work. So they'll be helpful in the process. You'll get to understand them quite well. So there are those loop controls statements that you can use in a loop. We have the break. One of it is the break statement. Break terminates the loop prematurely when a certain condition is met. For example, we are printing values from 0 to 9 or from 1 to 10. 0 to 9. We want when the value is 5, we break the loop. So we are going to terminate the loop prematurely when I is equals to 5. So I said break terminates the loop prematurely when a certain condition is met. That is, here we are to meet the condition. If I is equals to 5, we are going to break. So whenever I is not equal to 5, the value will always be printed. But when I is 5, the loop will stop at that particular point, and it's not going to print any other value on our command prompt. So let's see, 0 to 4. When I was 5, the loop prematurely terminates because the condition was met. That's a break statement. You might ask yourself, where will I use this? Don't worry. Just understand that in future you'll get to understand how this goes. The other loop control statement is we have the continue state. Continue now. What it does, it skips the rest of the code inside the loop for the current iteration and moves to the next iteration. What do I mean? For example, here we say if I is equals to 5, then we instead of break, we use continue. What it does, when it reaches I is equals to 5, it's going to skip the rest of the code. That means it's not going to print 5 in our prompt. Then it will continue with the next iteration. It's only that at that particular code, at that particular point where the continue was used, the rest of the code will be ignored. That's what I mean. But if we are printing I before continue, that means I will be printed even though I is equals to 5. Get it? So what it does, if a certain condition is met, it's going to omit to skip the rest of the code inside the loop, but it will continue. It will move on to the next iteration. So this is what I mean. You see, when it reaches 5, it skips the value 5, then it moves on with the rest of the values. So that's how continue does. The other thing we can say is the pass. I introduced it in if statement. So pass, what it does, it acts as a placeholder and does nothing. It is useful when a statement is required syntactically, but no action is needed. For example, let's say you're writing the code, but we will come to that later. When we say if I is equals to 5, you can maybe say pass, then you say use else. Maybe after, what I mean here is pass with just, because we can't leave it like that, that would be a syntax error. So pass will hold for us. For example, I want to work on if I is equals to 5, I'm going to work on that later. So I want to work on else. For example, when you're writing a big code, you find yourself maybe you want to first work on else statement. Maybe you might find a very huge code inside the else statement. So you're not going to work with the if first. So you're going to first solve the else. So you can use pass to just hold that for you, that place for you. Then you can come write your code later because you can't leave it blank. That would be a syntax error. So that what pass does, and it's a good one for for loop control statement. So I hope you understood that. We talked about the for loop. The for loop with a list of a sequence. A sequence is like a list, a string, or basically it's an iterable object. Iterable object is an object that you can iterate. For example, you can't iterate an integer. So basically, you can iterate over. Mostly happens on the mutable object, and for immutable, you can go with a string. So that's how you can do it. So for this for loop, that's all you need to know about the for loops, and they are quite useful whenever you are performing repetitive tasks or controlling a program flow. You basically use them along the way. So, and that's all about the loops in Python. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.